Welcome to Mideast in Depth, part of Levant TV's Press Reviews. Britain's Home Secretary Theresa May said today the terror threat to the UK is greater now than at any time in the country's history, as she warned that the danger posed by ISIS is larger than that of any other terror organisation which has confronted Britain. May's comments suggest the government views the ISIL threat as greater than the menace posed by the IRA in the 1980s or Al-Qaeda in early and mid-2000s, despite the absence of a successful ISIL-related attack on British soil. Mrs May said that the only way to combat the problem is to do more to recognise the shared values we have, and suggested that the focus on teaching British values in schools would dampen the lure of jihadist organisations. Theresa May's comments at the House of Commons came as she unveiled the government's counter-terrorism and security bill, which contains a series of measures designed to prevent British-born jihadists who have travelled to Iraq and Syria returning to the UK and carrying out attacks here. Mrs May's intervention came as Mark Rowley, Britain's counter-terror chief, warned that terrorists could be plotting attacks on shopping centres, cinemas and sports stadiums across the country. And May argues there's been a lot of focus on Syria and Iraq and ISIL, and people have seen the brutality of ISIL, and people will have been shocked that there are British citizens actively going out to join this group when they've seen the brutality of what they do. An article also on the Daily Mail looking at Islamic terrorists fighting in Iraq and planning to attack UK soil in the United Kingdom, as per the British Prime Minister David Cameron. The Prime Minister told MPs that the crisis in the Middle East must not be dismissed as nothing to do with the UK. He said that the jihadist insurgents in Iraq and Syria, Somalia and Nigeria would come back and hit us at home if the UK did not help defeat them. According to Mr Cameron, the right answer is to be long-term, hard-headed, patient and intelligent with the interventions that we make, and the most important intervention of all is to make sure that these governments are fully representative of the people who live in their countries, that they close down the ungoverned space and they remove the support for the extremists. Mr Cameron added, if we do that, not just in Syria, but we have to help in Iraq, in Somalia, Nigeria, in Mali, because these problems will come back and hit us at home if we don't. Then the former chairman of the British Joint Intelligence Committee said, militants in the region pose the gravest threat to Britain today, as Iraq's ambassador to the US warned ISIS extremists could produce 1,000 global terrorists like bin Laden. And now we are joined by political analyst from Syria, Nidal Naisi. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Welcome.
Naisi,
what
are the factors, in your opinion, that led to the West facing high terror threat, especially Britain today?
Excuse me, I didn't catch the idea well.
Yes, what are, in your opinion, the factors that led to the West facing high terror threats today, especially here in Britain?
Well, thank you very much for hosting me. I want just first of all to remind our dear viewers and listeners that the same jihadist Mrs. May is talking about, those were in fact the rebels or the revolutionaries, as they used to call them in Syria. Syria has been fighting those jihadists and terrorists for the last 44 months, excuse me. And the threat to now in the whole world, in fact, is very great, and big, because I can trace some kind of alliance between some Western countries and the states, and the main states supporting the terrorism in the world in general, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey. Well, I don't think sometimes that the Western countries are so serious in fighting terrorism, since they are allying with these medieval countries which are supporting terrorism. I wonder why do they go to Syria or to Iraq to fight terror, while we know the source and the spring of terror in the world, which is in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, and in Turkey. Turkey is now the passage for all these terrorists who enter Syria through it. While we see the relations between British, the United States, and other Western countries are very good with Turkey and with Saudi Arabia and with Qatar, which are considered the West best allies. Now the darkest face of the crisis is the number of terrorists who are living in the West. Those who are living now in London. I wrote sometimes.
Yes. Mr. Naisi, thank you very much for your contribution. And for more updates, please visit our website, levant.tv. You could also subscribe to Middle East in Depth on iTunes. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.